big news out of Ann Arbor today. And I guess we'll start with Warde Manuel, the athletic director at Michigan, announced just moments ago via the tweet machine that he will not be going to the college football playoff committee tomorrow to vote on the rankings. Here is a statement from Warde Manuel through Michigan. Quote, "I want to provide an update regarding my participation with the college football playoff committee this week. I will not be traveling to our weekly meeting in Dallas. Instead, I will stay in Ann Arbor attending to important matters regarding the ongoing investigation into our football program. I look forward to being back in the room with my fellow committee members next week and every week through the end of the season." Wow. The responsibility and the privilege that it is to serve the college football playoff committee, for Warde Manuel to pass on that opportunity for a week is seismic. And I don't think that we can make too much out of this. And I know that people have a high burnout factor for these stories, but I am telling you now that this story is the single biggest story in Michigan football history as we speak. There is real opportunity now that Jim Harbaugh may be suspended for the rest of the regular football season as soon as Wednesday. And I think some of the evidence of that is Warde Manuel not going to the college football playoff committee meeting tomorrow. I have never seen that before in the short history of the college football playoff, where an athletic director who has a vote at the table to determine who's going to the college football playoff, and that would include his Michigan Wolverines, is saying we have so much controversy here in Ann Arbor that I cannot be peeled away from school to go to Dallas for a day. Jake, I think that speaks volumes to the gravity of this scandal.
Absolutely. And I think that, Warde Manuel is doing everything that he needs to do to see this thing through. And I think that, anytime someone gives up opportunity because they have responsibility at home, you begin to understand how significant that sacrifice is. And I think that, Michigan is sort of at the, I would say the climax of this particular situation. The Big Ten, has notified Michigan of the allegations. That notice did not include what punishment would be. So the idea that Warde Manuel is going to stay back from his meeting with the college football playoff committee says to me that, hey, we understand that we've been noticed. We have to now, plan and put together our next steps forward. And that to me is why you would skip the college football playoff committee meeting, because you understand, okay, here's what's about to happen. We have until Wednesday to respond to that notice, and we need to understand what we want to do moving forward. And so to me, it is a big deal that he's not going to the college football playoff meeting, because that is absolutely an honor to be on that committee. So the idea that he would stay back to handle this, I would agree, speaks volumes about where we're at in this situation and the severity and the seriousness of the timeline and where things are at.
Yeah, and I think Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti giving notice to Michigan of this investigation and essentially telling Michigan, as we broke exclusively here on the Monty Show last week, that Tony Petitti was going to meet with Michigan administration. He did that on Friday. I am told in that meeting that they did discuss penalties and the potential of penalties, while those discussions were not specific, i.e., hey, we're thinking about a 2-game, a 4-game, a year-long. There was no specifics, but I am told Tony Petitti and Michigan administration, in fact, did talk about the possibilities that there would be a suspension of Jim Harbaugh. And I think that is the minimum that we are looking at in this situation. You look at the fact that Tony Petitti gave notice to Michigan of these allegations. They talked about the situation in person on Friday. I am told that Tony Petitti did, in fact, have a call with the presidents of the Big Ten over the weekend, where he heard from each individual president, where they talked openly about this situation. I am told that today, Tony Petitti, and I would guess that it was in the last 2 hours, Tony Petitti did convene a call with the NCAA over this, after which he noticed Michigan, which is the proper procedure. Now, I believe Nicole Auerbach at The Athletic reported that he has 2 days now to hear back from Michigan. The overwhelming sentiment, I am told, is that there will be action Wednesday or Thursday, which is right on the timeline. And I think that's what's being widely reported at this point. But our sources are telling us that the Big Ten is likely to give Jim Harbaugh and Michigan a 4-game suspension, which makes a lot of sense. I think the Big Ten is trying to cover its bases. Suspending Jim Harbaugh for 4 games is very different than taking Michigan out of the postseason, which I don't think the Big Ten and Tony Petitti, from what I understand, is willing to do at this point. I think Tony Petitti wants to act and do something of significance with this sign-stealing scandal. I think something of significance would be removing Jim Harbaugh from the equation for the rest of the Big Ten season. Note I did not say for the rest of the football season. I think Tony Petitti will suspend, or I am told is considering suspending, and I want to get that right. I am told that Tony Petitti is considering a 4-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. That would cover the last 3 games of the regular season and a potential Big Ten championship game for Michigan. That would be, I was also told over the weekend, a complete suspension. It would not be Jim just can't be at the game on Saturday. It would be no contact whatsoever throughout the week for Jim Harbaugh for an entire month with Michigan football. He would be eligible if and when Michigan is given a postseason berth. They would be allowed, if qualified, to play in the Big Ten championship game. So the punishment here would be to Jim Harbaugh. It would not be to Michigan football per se. It would be a 4-game suspension of Jim Harbaugh, not of Michigan football. And I think, Jake, that is cutting the pie as best you can if you are the Big Ten. I mean, you are still trying to make that money because don't forget, there is a lot of money at stake for the Big Ten if Michigan does not qualify for the college football playoff. We're talking about a minimum of $6 million. And I think that is significant no matter how you slice it. And I think when you look at Tony Petitti, he is trying to soothe all parties here, in my opinion. If you simply act against Jim Harbaugh and you allow Michigan to continue to play games, Jake, I think that really satisfies everybody who's calling for somebody's head.
Yeah, and I think that you have to have someone get suspended, and it's a tough position to be in for Tony Petitti. I mean, you have the responsibility of the overall health of your conference, but you also have the responsibility of saving face for your conference. Like there are multiple angles to play from here if you're Tony Petitti, which is why I think we haven't seen a suspension yet. Because what does that really say? Tony's got to go around to all the member institutions and figure out what exactly everybody wants to do, which is precisely what we heard last week, right? You guys remember, hey, all the member institutions in the Big Ten want Michigan and specifically want Jim Harbaugh suspended. They want punishment for him. So now we're hearing, hey, they noticed Michigan and therefore noticed Jim, and Michigan and Jim have 2 days. Obviously, today's Monday. They have till Wednesday to respond. And so, yeah, it would seem like a logical step that Jim would get 4 games. But I'm curious if that does indeed happen, what the NCAA will do about this. Because I think for the NCAA, this is a bigger problem than just simply, oh, well, Jim, ran some sign stealing scheme and it's no big deal and it's 4 games and we're good. See you later. Like, I don't think the NCAA is just going to leave it at that. And I think the Big Ten is going to punish Jim, and I think the NCAA is going to punish the Big Ten. And I think that, unfortunately, is the pecking order of discipline. And I don't know, when that punishment would come down. I don't know. Like, in my opinion, the just thing to do would be to take Michigan out of the college football playoff. But obviously, I don't think we're going to see that happen at this point. So that's why I say, if you're Tony Petitti, you're just trying to, quell everybody. You're just trying to say, okay, what does everybody think is fair? What do we want to do about this? I'm the commissioner. I work for you guys. That's all he's trying to do.
Yeah, and I think that's why he's been so, I'm not going to say public, but it's not private. It's very public knowledge. He's met with the athletic directors. He met with Michigan. He's met with the presidents. He's met with the coaches. He's talked to everybody.
Yes.
He has gotten opinions from all corners of the Big Ten universe. I think he's prepared to act. And I think he is absolutely following the Big Ten bylaws. in the sportsmanship, unsportsmanlike activity code, which allows him to punish somebody for unsporting conduct. He has to give 48 hours notice of that unsporting conduct. He has done that to Michigan. The next step is punishment. And I want to make this clear. I've confirmed it several different ways, that unsportsmanlike policy does not simply say he only gets to suspend Jim Harbaugh for 2 games. I think this is a big point of misinformation across the sports world. Tony Petitti, if he has the backing of Big Ten presidents, can suggest a penalty, they can approve it, that penalty will be handed down. Tony Petitti is not in any way, shape, or form bound to simply suspend Jim Harbaugh for 2 games. And I think it is a nice round number that he would suspend him for 4 games. 3 for the remaining season, and then 1 for the Big Ten championship game. It makes all the sense in the world. And I think it's exactly what they should be doing. I think the difficulty here are all of the reports, and I think Brett McMurphy had this first today. I could be wrong, but everybody talking about how Michigan will take legal action. Man, I think that is a very difficult step for Michigan to take. My guess is that they would ask for an injunction that would, hold this, the suspension up until a court case can be heard or a hearing can be had. I think you're only doing bad things for the Big Ten, because the bigger issue here is what people believe the rule is. And I can't say this any more clearly. It doesn't matter if Jim Harbaugh knew. It doesn't matter, because the NCAA has made it very clear. If the head coach didn't know, he's being fired because he should have known. He's being penalized because he should have known. It's not a matter of, did Jim Harbaugh have knowledge, in this case, let's say allegedly, of what Connor Stalions was doing. It doesn't matter. Connor Stalions was acting on behalf and for the benefit of Michigan football. So it's Jim Harbaugh's responsibility to know what they are doing. And if you are the Big Ten, what you are trying to do is take as little damage from this financially as possible, because Michigan is a valuable football partner of yours, and you need Michigan in the postseason. You need Michigan in the college football playoff, because we're going to talk about the AP Top 25 coming up. Ohio State's not getting very much love in the AP Top 25. And the concern now is, if you are the Big Ten, if you take action against Michigan, and let's say they lose a game or they lose 2 games, because they have 2 very big games coming up, Penn State and Ohio State, mind you, are coming up here in the next 3 weeks. If they lose 2 of those 3 games, they're out. And then if Ohio State isn't getting the love that they deserve, you could be shut out of the college football playoff. That is a very real risk that the Big Ten is running. And I don't care how you slice it. You go from a minimum of $6 million to no dollars for the college football playoff. That's a lot of jack, dude. And there's no way to substitute that. This is a critical moment in time. So for all of the Michigan fans out there watching this show, because we know you're here, you're in the comment section, let's make something very clear. This isn't a witch hunt. This isn't the NCAA and everybody else hates Michigan football. Jim Harbaugh has been caught, in my opinion, with his hand in the cookie jar, because every day the evidence gets worse. There's more and more evidence that comes out. You understand now this Connor Stalions Central Michigan story we're going to detail in a minute. It's almost now, thanks to ESPN and facial recognition, it's almost now not in dispute that Connor Stalions was on the Central Michigan sideline.
Facial recognition.
It is almost not in dispute that Michigan benefited from an illegal sign stealing operation. It's almost not in dispute. And it's getting more difficult to defend Jim Harbaugh as the days go on. And I just remind you, when the NCAA considers penalties and the Committee on Infractions considers penalty, past behavior is a very big consideration in the final deliberation. And when you figure out that Jim's already got pending level 1 violations, pending level 2 violations, he's got an FBI investigation on campus, and now he's in the middle of what could be the most fatal blow, this sign stealing cheating operation, This is going in the wrong direction for Michigan football. And I can only imagine if you're a Michigan football fan and you're a Jim Harbaugh fan, I can only imagine these are difficult days for you. But makes one thing very clear. If Jim Harbaugh was fired today, Michigan would be in a far better place tomorrow. And I think that's something that Michigan football fans have to really look at. You're still one of the premier jobs in the country. Why are you fighting for this guy? And I feel like over the last 2 weeks, we've asked you this question every single show. Why are you fighting for Jim Harbaugh? Not a Michigan fan in the world wants to answer that question because there is no good answer for it. The guy has damaged you. He is driving your integrity into the ground.
Facts.
And I'm trying to understand, what are you fighting for? Because the minute you fire him, the penalties go way down for Michigan. Way down for Michigan. And you're going to get the best available head coach to come and coach your football program. So I don't understand what you're doing fighting for this guy.
Man, it's tough. It's emotional for Michigan fan.
It is.
Michigan fan is Jim is Michigan royalty. Jim is, Michigan Superman, if you will. And I think Michigan fan is in the middle of this thing as much as any college football fan could be in the middle of any college football situation. And I think that for Michigan fan, it is, I imagine, somewhat heartbreaking to see Jim being this guy, because I don't care, who you're a fan of. You don't want your sports guy to be a villain, but that's what Jim kind of is here. I mean, Jim is somebody who, as we've detailed over the past couple of weeks, is a red ass with the media. He's someone who is not, a fan favorite outside of Ann Arbor. He's not, he's not some, everybody loves this guy type of personality. He's not that guy. And I think that's what's difficult about this whole thing is that Jim is someone who has you in the college football playoff conversation, but does not have you in the national championship conversation. And unfortunately, the college football playoff is expanding. So your odds of getting to the national championship game are not getting better. They're getting worse. And I think for Michigan fan, you're sitting here saying, man, like, who can we hire to keep us at the same level or improve? And I think that takes us right back to the point of, who are you? Well, you're Michigan football. You're a premier brand. So I think that there would be a bunch of dudes that would want to come in and coach Michigan football. So
I think the number one candidate would be Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I mean, I think he would be the first call. Mike Elko at Duke would have to be one of the first 5 calls you make for interviews. Like, you're talking about the best available coaches, man. Michigan is a premier job in college football. How are we even, as Michigan fans, how are we even sitting here having a conversation about what's better for Michigan? Fight for level 1 violation guy or go and get Matt Campbell at Iowa State? Are you out your goddamn mind?
You out of your goddamn mind.
If you're going to sit here and fight for Jim Harbaugh? This guy has been nothing but a pain in the ass since the day he put on the khakis. And you're starting to make the argument to me that Matt Campbell's not a better hire? Because he'd be the first guy you would call. You're out of your mind. PJ Fleck is not a better guy than Jim Harbaugh? Are you kidding me? Hell, Mike Hart is a better candidate to be the head coach at Michigan than Jim Harbaugh is right now.
I want the best people.
It's wild. It is wild to me. Do you understand the caliber of offensive coordinator that is out there? You can hire a guy like Matt Campbell, and you can easily slide a guy like Josh McDaniels in to be your offensive coordinator. You're talking about winning a national championship next season, let alone, is Jim Harbaugh going to be able to coach our team next year? Are you out of your mind? Like, it is unbelievable to me. And again, I don't want to exacerbate the point, but it's unbelievable to me that Michigan fan cannot see through all of this malaise of BS with Jim Harbaugh to say we are better off if this guy gets whacked today.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like the brand of Jim Harbaugh for Michigan fan is bigger than Michigan itself. And that's what's crazy to me is, like, Michigan football has a long history, a prideful one, a really good college football, story in the big picture. And I think that Michigan fan, what you don't realize is that you could be SMU, you could be some small, irrelevant program trying to get into a Power 5 conference. But no, you're not that. You are one of the blue bloods. You are one of the premier brands in college football, and you're so married to a guy because he played for you and, he went to Michigan and he's that guy. And yet here we are talking about, man, we beat Ohio State only to have that ripped away from us because we know they cheated to do it. And that's what I think is so painful. It's like, for Michigan fan, it's almost like you're in so deep now with Jim that you can't go back emotionally. And that's what I think is crazy, because I do think you can go back. I do think you can fire this guy. Yes, it would be costly for the school, but you really tell me Michigan can't absorb that cost?
Well, but it wouldn't be costly.
Come on.
It would not be costly to fire him. You're firing him for cause. And the other part of this that nobody wants to talk about is Jonathan Smith at Oregon State is available. He's being linked to every major opening. And you have real offensive caliber guys, offensive coordinator caliber guys out there waiting to be hired. I mean, this isn't even a conversation. The moment that you fire Jim Harbaugh, you're better off. Can you imagine? Well, I need a head coach. I'm Michigan. That's right. We can have any head coach we want. You can quite literally. The other guy that I've heard a lot about is Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Look what he's done for Ole Miss. If you're telling me right now, if you fired Jim Harbaugh, and I told you Jonathan Smith, Matt Campbell, and Lane Kiffin are all willing to interview for the job, you're not in a better place. You're not in a better place. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Jonathan Smith on his own at Oregon State. You're in a better place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're in a better place from, you're in a better place from, ethics, morals, compliance. Absolutely. I think that, Lane Kiffin going to Michigan would be an outstanding hire. I mean, that's just not in question. Jonathan Smith, I think a lot of people would wonder, okay, well, you're coming from Oregon State. Michigan's obviously a big time job. Let's see how you come in and into a bigger scale job. I think that would be the question. But ultimately, the reality of the situation is that any of these candidates are just as gifted and skilled, if not more, than Jim. And I really, in my heart of hearts, believe it is a massive disservice to the brand that is Michigan. Because I'm not even a Michigan fan, but I do respect the brand that is Michigan. Like, you're talking about a school that's got a dominant football program, dominant basketball program, Michigan hockey, storied history. Like, you're talking about a school that has an athletic department that is robust.
It's Michigan.
And yet here we are dying on the hill for a guy who had to cheat to beat your rival, has not won you a national championship, and seemingly is always in the middle of something.
Yeah.
He does not represent your brand well, and certainly does not have your best interest in mind.
Your athletic director, Michigan fan. Hey, Michigan fan, your athletic director is skipping the college football playoff committee vote tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because of Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild to me. A couple other stories or angles we need to update on the Michigan cheating situation. James Franklin, the head coach of Penn State, who obviously is going to see Jimmy this weekend, maybe not. What does James Franklin think about this Michigan situation?
I'm focused on all the stuff I see on film. That's what we're focused on, is all the stuff that we see on film, their players, their scheme, all the stuff. When I say see on film, what we see on the coach's copy of the film, the stuff that's going on between the sidelines, the 53 and a third, that's what we're focused on.
Dude. Like, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. Oh, and then there's the Central Michigan situation.
Yeah.
The NCAA joins Central Michigan's investigation on whether or not Connor Stalions was on the sideline.
Sign stealer guy.
Yeah, sign stealer guy. Now, you remember this is the picture in question, which in my opinion is not much in question. So the NCAA is now officially looking into this, but then there's ESPN, who this is one of the most wild things I've ever heard of. You want to know how far this has gone? At ESPN's request, according to Adam Rittenberg, a doctoral student used state-of-the-art commercial facial recognition systems.
Facial recognition.
To compare two photographs. The system compared the images based on several facial characteristics to provide a similarity score in the range of 0 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
The higher the similarity score, the more likely the two faces being compared are the same person.
Me?
The system produced a similarity score of 0.6 when comparing two photographs. To validate that score, the doctoral students compared Stalions' photo to a database of more than 4,500 photos of white males.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's a 0.6 is because there's a disguise. The doctoral student told ESPN, if I take an identical photo, it would be 1. Even changes in pose, illumination, expression, sunglasses that match will never be perfect based on this analysis. And this is a critical part. Based on this analysis, the two images of the same person with high confidence. They're of the same person. So this facial recognition guru, a doctoral student, used facial recognition to determine, Connor Stalions, you are the father.
Sign stealer guy.
That you're basically saying that Connor Stalions, according to this facial recognition program, was on the sideline wearing Central Michigan coaching gear with alleged, I say alleged, glasses that record his activities, what he's looking at.
Facial recognition.
Which is amazing to me.
Incredible.
So this guy right there, that's the overlay. This guy right there with the glasses on and the blue light that pops on, according to ESPN and their doctoral facial recognition student, there is no doubt in that doctoral student's mind that this is Connor Stalions on both sides of this frame.
Yes.
And I think we all on the show last week, maybe you missed it, I think we all agreed that was him. I mean, this is where we are. This is 2023. This is who we've become. We need facial recognition to determine what we already know.
Facial recognition.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the only question that remains about this Michigan, sign stealing operation that they were running is just how pervasive was this through the Big Ten, because I think that question has not really been vetted yet. There is some reporting out there right now from the AP, talking about how a former Big Ten employee has, evidence from multiple member institutions, that he has text messages and signals that he provided to those schools. And so I think we're starting to get more substance about the idea that all the schools realized what Michigan was doing.
Yes.
And so then they retaliated back and did their own sign stealing. I think that's the direction we're headed potentially. And I think if that's the case, this thing's going to go a hell of a lot deeper than how many games is Jim Harbaugh going to get and just how long was sign stealer guy on Central Michigan's sideline. Because if sign stealer guy was on other people's sidelines and we just haven't realized it yet, now we're having a whole different discussion. And if there were multiple sign stealer guys for different member institutions inside the Big Ten, Now we're having an entirely different conversation, and Jim Harbaugh was just the tip of the iceberg. And in usual fashion, Jim Harbaugh sucks at cheating. So that's why I say this thing's hardly, over.
Look at the web that has been woven on this. I mean, honestly, we're from Central Michigan. Central Michigan's in a world of hurt right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rules are very clear. Who is supposed to have the visitor's bench credential? It's 50 people. And dude wearing Ray-Ban recording glasses allegedly is not one of the 50 people authorized.
Stealer guy.
Yeah, is not one of the 50 people authorized to have this pass. And again, if it was not Connor Stalions, my question is, where's the guy that it was then? Whereas, that was my nephew's friend, Tony. We just wanted him to carry our towels that day.
Yeah, water boy.
And
That's right, T.
he has cornucopia, the eyelashes, so he has to wear glasses at night.
Yeah.
Like, where is that guy? Where are you?
Yeah.
But that guy doesn't exist because, in my opinion, that's Connor Stalions.
Yeah, and Jim McElwain, CMU's head coach, didn't sit here and say, "Oh yeah, hey, it was our water boy," or "Hey, it was."
You guys, this is ridiculous that you're asking me these questions because that was my wife's nephew's sister's cousin's brother, and he's having a tough time and stuff.
Before we go any farther, we've obviously are aware of a picture floating around with the sign stealer guy. Sign stealer guy.
It's ridiculous. All right. Less of us, more of you. Hit it in the comments section. Thank you to everybody who's here today. Please give us a thumbs up. Hit the like button if you have not. To comment on the show, you guys know how much we value our comment section. To comment on the show, you do have to be a subscriber to the channel. Please go hook that up. And when you do that, then get into the description and get your free Buck shot from BuckedUp. We hit it every day at this time, you guys. It is the single best energy shot on the market. And if you are somebody that uses the 5-hour energies of the world, this is better than any other energy shot in the country because you get 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine and a bunch of brain food. It's elite ingredients to make an elite product that does exactly what it says it's going to do. There are no spikes. There are no dips. You just get a natural boost. So you're more alert. You're more aware to finish that last conference call. Hey, I need to go find sign stealer guy and do facial recognition.
Stealer guy.
Better pop a buckshot so I can see clearly without sunglasses on. Whatever it is, a pivot table, you have a long drive home. Maybe you're just tired. It's Monday and the clock's changed over the weekend. There's no better way to make yourself feel better so you can have your best days than getting free buckshot in the description below. Cheers to you, sign stealer guy. Yes, sir. And it's good. That's the other thing. This is watermelon. I'm a huge watermelon and blue raz guy. Go get it now in the description below. BuckedUp will send you 6 free buckshots right to your front door. Make sure you tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. All right, who's first in today? Lance Johnson. How about those OSU Cowboys off the mat and cowboying up? Don't think Gundy cares about Bedlam. Don't think he does.
I'm a man.
Because all he's told me for over a year is Bedlam's meaningless.
So get your facts straight.
And they're done with it. We'll talk about Gundy coming up. I think the guy's a fraud. And I know that I pissed a lot of people off on Twitter over the weekend, but I'm so tired of this guy talking out of both sides of his mouth and being a red ass and, just saying how much his fan base doesn't care about Oklahoma. And then after the game, talking about how it was the single greatest moment of his entire life and childbirth means nothing and the lunar landing means nothing and the Berlin Wall falling means nothing and his wedding day and his birthday, the actual day he popped out between his mom's thighs, is meaningless because we just won Bedlam.
Hey, guys.
But then all you've told me for a year is Bedlam's meaningless. Oh, but when you win Bedlam, then it means something. Please. Aaron Wilson gifts 1 membership to the Monty Show. Let's go. Appreciate you, Aaron Wilson, as always. Dakota Tubbs. Can anyone tell me what in the Sam Hill is a pivot table. It's an attachment to an Excel spreadsheet. And tell me that you don't work in Excel without telling me you don't work in Excel. John DeLon, what's up with you? Good to see you. Jeremy Callahan. Yep. SSG LMAO. I don't know what that means, but okay.
Sign stealer guy.
Okay. Big Daddy Magic. Tom Brady would have Michigan in the national. Go back to Victor Wembanyama, Big Daddy Magic. Tom Brady's not a candidate for the Michigan.
the way.
Man. Let's see. Let's go back towards the top because you guys have been great today. Boyd Lake, the SEO King of America. Remember what I said? All they have to do is produce who that guy really was, and the whole question goes away for CMU.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, where is he?
They haven't and they can't, because I think it's because every day that goes by, they haven't and they can't and they won't, in my opinion. And it very well is going to get some people at CMU fired. I don't know how it wouldn't, because it's not Michigan State fault. And I want to make this clear. A lot of people are saying Michigan State, was trying to why would Michigan State want to help sign stealer guy from Michigan?
Yeah.
B, Michigan State takes 50 of those visitor bench credentials and they hand them in bulk to Central Michigan in this case. This game was September 1st in East Lansing. Michigan State's the home team. They give them a bunch and they say, here you go. And it's up to CMU. And I would also remind you, there are no names on those credentials. They simply say VB, and they are given out to the 50 people that have to work on that bench. So medical personnel, coaching, support staff, but even like the band or whoever, none of those people, they don't get, they're not allowed between those two big white bulk lines that encompass the bench. It is for essential bench personnel only. And that does not include allegedly a Michigan analyst.
Sign stealer guy.
There's no way around it.
No.
ZZM, Tom Brady has never coached before. Are you crazy?
Okay.
Matt Campbell, one of the most accomplished coaches in the Big 12 this year, or Tom Brady? I've never understood that.
Yeah.
I've never understood that. Lance Johnson, Stalions looks like a mule for the cartels. Okay. I mean, I don't know how you know that, but Jeremy Callahan, I was at Casey's and there were probably 3 dudes that looked just like that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ask them who they were? I don't know. Hey, Tone says, dude, it was me. Well, all right. Solve the sign stealer guy conundrum. ZZM, wait until it's released. He was also at the Western Michigan game. You think so?
He was at all the football games inside the state of Michigan.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, all of them at once.
Simultaneously. Hey, Tone, LMAO, Monty is FBI, CIA. Could be. Mike Smith, what's up, Mike? You can tell it is the same guy because he's chewing the same brand and flavor of gum. That's what I'm saying. I mean, just check the DNA on the gum. What are we even arguing about?
Juicy.
OG Gary, stunner glasses are in fact being worn at night. That's the other thing. Did you not think that would draw attention to you? You have a blue light on the front of your glasses, bro.
Me?
Did you guys pick up on that? That's if you've been watching the show, look at the glasses right on the right lens there, left side of the screen. Note the blue light that turns on. Hey-oh. It's not there, not there. Oh, hey.
Look at that.
Those are Ray-Bans, and people have offered explanations for this. Because that does not look like he tilted his head up and it's a reflection from the light standings.
No.
That looks like a blue light that turns on when they're recording whatever you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because they have 2 lenses. They have 2 lenses here, and there's a little light above the lens. So, I mean, it's awfully hard to ignore it.
Yeah.
It's awfully hard to ignore it. In my opinion, it's awfully difficult to ignore it. So I just think they're in so much trouble. They're in
deep.
so much
There's
trouble.
no doubt.
The Christie, I don't think we can assume Michigan started it. They were just caught first. I think that's a great point. I think if you believe that Michigan's the only one doing this, you're foolish. They're the only ones stupid enough to do it the way they did it, and it was easy to catch them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Again, why are you dying on the hill for Jim Harbaugh? He's not. So let me get this right. He's not good at winning national championships.
Right.
So he goes to cheat to win national championships, and he gets caught doing that. So you're not good at cheating. You're not good at winning national championships like your colleagues are. So what are we talking about?
Like
I mean,
your
I
colleagues are.
If I said to you, okay, who do you think is most likely to win a national championship first? Ryan Day, Jim Harbaugh, Lane Kiffin,
Lane Train,
or Nick Saban? Which of those four?
Not Jim Harbaugh.
Not Jim Harbaugh. I'm going Nick, Ryan, Lane, then Jim.
Yeah.
Right. And I haven't even thrown Kirby Smart in there or Jesus Christ himself, Dabo Sweeney.
And the other part of this is I think you can only be a red ass for so long before it comes back to get you.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Harbaugh not being somebody that plays well in the sandbox and being a guy who does not get along with others. This is when it comes back to get you, because you hear that Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, had a conference call with coaches, ADs, and presidents, and roundly all of them called for Harbaugh and Michigan to be punished. If he had connections and was well-liked, maybe that calling is a little less. If he wasn't such a jerk, and if he hadn't sent, and I believe, in my opinion, that he knows what his guy is doing. There's too much video of Connor Stalions. And again, here's the plausible deniability part. Everybody wants plausible deniability.
Such a catchphrase.
Plausible deniability. Okay, help me understand this. If you look at Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines and you start to understand that he's somebody who, you're watching Connor Stalions tell them what the play is.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sending it in. You're watching last year in the Ohio State game, all of the Michigan players signaling pass, pass, pass. As soon as Connor Stalions saw the play. And you're telling me Jim Harbaugh doesn't know about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's incredible, too, is all these pictures we've seen of where Stalions has this white laminated sort of thing in play call sheet, whether it was at Central Michigan or on the Michigan sideline, it's very, he does the same thing every single time. And what's so funny about the parallels between his time at Michigan and that game he was captured at between Michigan State and Central Michigan is he's right in the center of both of those, right by both head coaches. I mean, you're talking about Jim McElwain being in the same picture as you on his sideline, just the same way you were with Jim.
And
so
everybody is doing it, but they're not doing it like you did it. And I think, again, people either don't know this or they like to forget it. Sign stealing is not illegal in college football. In the NFL, it's not illegal. You know what the difference is? They don't send signs in the NFL. Why is that? They have helmet technology. It's not illegal in the NCAA in that if I can look across the field and read your signals and know what the call is, that's not illegal that I just stole your signs. But if you send people with recording devices to other stadiums, specifically up your schedule to future competition, and you pay people to, I don't know, let's say you paid somebody to sit in the stands and point their phone at a sideline and then upload that video to a cloud folder, which then you used to decipher signs and plays. That's illegal, right? That's exactly what Michigan is accused of. And I would remind you, some of the people who were hired to go to these games have spoken. I would remind you that Connor Stalions had a public Venmo account. I would remind you, Connor Stalions was openly talking about it to friends, telling people, hey, I'm going to be in Nashville for this game because I'm sign stealer guy. Hey, you want to get a beer afterwards?
Sign stealer guy.
Like you're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And I'd also remind you, he bought tickets to all of these venues in his own name. How stupid are you? So if you're going to do it, at least use like a made up name or Dick Tidrow or some obscure baseball player name. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Use like an obscure hockey player's name. I don't care. But you can't use your own name and become infamous across the Big Ten.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand about this. This is what I'm trying to understand. Is like, okay, let's say that just as an example, hypothetical. Let's say that every program in the Big Ten does stuff like this. It sends people out advanced scouting, they're cheating,
Yes.
Let's say everybody's doing it. Then why is it that Michigan was the only one who's been caught? Well, obviously, because of what you just said. They did it in a very public way.
And I from what people tell me, most coaches do not send people to venues. They have somebody or a couple of people on their staff whose job it is to review the film. And again, maybe you guys don't know this, and I don't mean to mansplain it. Every week, you get a volume of video.
Well, that's what James Franklin said.
I mean an assload of video for your opponent.
Yeah.
So this week, Michigan's got an assload of Penn State film. And you can easily take that film, look at the signals coming into the game. And here's how, I don't know if people know this. Here's how you steal signs. You watch the guy send the signs in, and then you say, okay, he just sent that sign in. What play did they run? Oh, they ran a pass. And it was an out to the sideline. Okay, let's go find that next one. Okay, here's the same route package. There's the same throw. Rewind. What sign did they send in? Okay, well, this means that's how they do it.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's not covert.
It's just time intensive.
They hand it to you.
Yeah.
And so most coaches have an intern, let's say, who takes that video and who breaks those plays down. He sent this signal in. Every time he does this, it's a pass play. And 8 out of those 10 pass plays, his tendency is to throw an out route to the right sideline. That's how you steal signs. I know rocket science. That's all it is. So the fact that you had a financial budget allocated to sending people to advanced scout is really stupid.
Yes, it is.
Because you don't have to do it.
And it indicates that your AD was in on it and possibly more people were not.
You don't have to do it.
You don't.
That's the issue. And I hope people understand that the reason that you don't have more people getting caught for sign stealing is you have to be really stupid to go and do it because they give it to you. So
again, why are we dying on the hill of Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know. Mike Smith, won't you post more? Bill Bailey, won't you post more? No, we won't. Boyd Lake, if Harbaugh didn't know, he was the only one that didn't know, which would be ridiculous. And it doesn't matter if he didn't know.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
It's not required for him to know. It's unbelievable. John DeLon, how much you want to bet Jim is willing to die on the quote, I didn't know anything about cheating hill? Well, I would refer you back to the WeFence's statement on this, where he said, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of any coaches doing anything nefarious or rule breaking. I don't know anything about it. That's what he said.
And yeah, I just think it's wild. And we still have not seen Jim Harbaugh get his contract extension. Remember last week, before all that new evidence came out, it was a slam dunk. And, it's not accurate. It's not accurate that my contract was reneged. Well, maybe it was. I just think it's wild. I absolutely think it's wild. The Todd father, Jake, people have been dying for Jim Harbaugh since 1985.
Look,
we have.
I get it. And I understand. Jim's got a loyal following. And my question is, if you're a Michigan fan, and you're one of those folks who's been a Michigan fan before Jim was there and will be a fan after Jim leaves inevitably, why are you so loyal to this guy? And is it a thing where It's just like, hey, he's our head coach. I'm going to defend our head coach till I die. Is that what it is? Because everything says that he knew. I'm not somebody who is going to buy into this nonsense that Jim didn't know. I think he knew.
I absolutely
think
agree.
He was in on it. I
agree.
think that I would even go as far as to say, in my opinion, I think he initiated this because his seat was getting hot because he hadn't beaten Ryan Day in his time at Michigan.
That's the most damning part is until he has beaten Ohio State these last 2 times, Jim didn't have a signature win. And you go back to the players tweeting at Connor Stalions all the way back to, I think it's 2015. So Connor Stalions, again, the now resigned, forced to resign, fired, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Connor Stalions is linked to Michigan football all the way back to 2015. The manifesto that he wrote, all this stuff about how he was going to lead Michigan football back to the mountaintop. And the other part of this that I think is so remarkable is when it's know or don't know, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's why Pat Fitzgerald got fired at Northwestern for the male parts and stuff.
Because it's illegal.
Yeah, the sexual abuse allegations at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald, I didn't know. I had no idea. Oh, you're going to take a couple of game suspension. Okay, but I still didn't know. Oh, now there's new details. Yeah, Pat, you're fired. Because once it gets too hot, they don't care. They're going to make you a fall guy. So as Northwestern did, hey, let's save the university by sacrificing Pat Fitzgerald. That's exactly what Michigan should do because the evidence is overwhelming and it's no longer in question. And I just don't know how long we have to play this charade.
Yeah, well, and I think the other point, and we talked about this earlier, is that this concept that, Jim's, looking at 4 games here, right? Last 3 regular season games and the Big Ten championship game. And you start to think about this from Michigan's standpoint. And if you're Michigan, and I don't agree with this philosophy, but this to me seems like the philosophy, which is, hey, well, he's only going to get 4 games. And if we extend him and we work all this new verbiage in that protects us in the future, that allows us to more easily terminate Jim, why wouldn't we extend him? We can make him the highest paid coach in college football. It's good for the school, we think. And then if he just goes out and does what he does, we should be fine. I mean, that's what it seems like.
I'm wondering, and I'm not really wondering. I'm pretty certain that Michigan is in the middle of the conversation of, well, fuck, how much more are we going to take? Excuse my French. Well, how much more of this are we willing to take? How much more damage are we willing to take? Because the other thing that I think nobody talks about, don't you think the president? Don't you think the donors? Don't you think the board of trustees? Don't you? This isn't just a football problem. This is a business problem because they have brand partners. They have TV partners. And I think it's getting to the point where now anybody that's affiliated with Michigan, if you're an athletic trainer at Michigan football and you go home tonight and you're, it's Thanksgiving here in a couple of weeks. What do you think, Jimmy, the football video guy? Hey, are you guys really cheating? Hey, what do you think the biggest boosters are talking about on their golf rounds?
Yeah.